And welcome everybody to Boca Live. I am. Can you see it? There is it. Okay,
Yes.
there it is. And I'm joined with my co-host
Melanie.
Melanie. All right, I feel like the show really has more from like a lot of heavy esports to like sports and pop culture and other things, politics a little bit, and
Politics.
that's a good
Yeah.
thing. I think it's good that a show can be fluid and you're not always pigeonholed into one industry or one topic. So I think that's
Yeah.
great.
I just feel like I need to keep up with my pop culture stuff. I'm
Yeah.
a little behind right now.
Honestly, just spend 5 minutes on Twitter, and that's really all you need. And boom, you're up to
I
date.
feel like my Twitter, this is the problem with like a lot of like social media and stuff. It's like my Twitter is like marketing news right now because I'm
Yeah,
obsessively consuming marketing news and you never get anything fresh. So, like, for a while, it was only esports. So now it's like a mixture of esports and marketing.
I,
It's so
I hear
weird.
that. Mine is like way too many like pro players, pro and amateur players, you know,
Yeah.
and teams where like I just don't really care anymore. Especially off, when it's not, outside of the season, I really don't care. Yeah, I actually really like how players react to wins and losses. I find that very
Yeah.
fascinating. But like, yeah, outside of the season, I don't really care about your personal life. So anyway, um,
Anyway,
let's.
speaking of, we
We
have
got some
pro
good
people.
stories. Yeah, we got some good stories to talk about.
I guess I'll start with the Monte Cristo and Thorin.
Yeah,
Um, So, Monte Cristo and Thorne are launching a media network called Last Free Nation, featuring major esports personalities. So, these are two people that are kind of big esports personalities, and it's going to be a talent owned media network that will focus on esports podcasts and content creation. So, it's got a few other big names that are going in. Oh, I actually recognize some of these. Yes. Now that I'm like reading, I'm like, oh, I could think I met these people before. Anyways, I should have read the whole headline before starting. My apologies.
it's all good.
It's been a busy day. Anyways, but to me, the piece that find interesting, because again, my Twitter is very esports heavy at times, and a lot of esports cancel culture heavy at times. So I see a lot of hate for Thorin. Now, I don't have enough background knowledge to really know why people hate Thorin, but I just know that they do. And so it's interesting to see Monte Cristo and some of these other big names collaborating with him when on the side I see like everyone is like excited to be blocked by Thorin.
Yeah, so Monte Cristo, Thorin, these are bigger than life figures in the Counter Strike community, and I can't remember exactly the timeline, but basically the Thorin fallout had to do with he was at Flashpoint, and then it had to do with like some beef with Astralis and ESL, and they just had a huge feud, and like he just lost it, and he just like said some ridiculously. No, I think there was a female talent or caster that set him off. Something set him off, um, and yeah, he just lost it, and like it
Mhm.
was nuts. It was a crazy Twitter tirade. It was amazing. It
Yeah.
was entertaining, and that was it. And I think because Flashpoint was finished, we didn't really hear anything from Thorin. So
Yeah.
I think this is like calling it, what's it, the Last Free Nation? What's it called again? Last
Last
Free
Free
Nation.
Nation. Yeah.
And you have guys that are sort of controversial, like Richard Lewis, like these kind of, very opinionated, very spicy personalities.
Yeah.
I want to say this is like not truth social for esports, but somewhere, somewhere in the middle.
I mean, there's notably no women listed here. I'm just to throw that one out. I'm like, okay, but it could be fine.
Yeah.
Well,
I just
we
got
shall
really
see.
laggy in that last
Yeah, you
tirade, right?
did.
I did. I was like, oh God, you probably didn't get that joke. Okay, it is what it is. Um, all right, next. What do we
I
got?
tried to wait
That's
and then fill in space. Sorry. So,
that's all good.
um, speaking of crazy personalities. I feel like Activision Blizzard is, as a brand, its own crazy personality at this point. But they're in trouble again. No surprise. They are facing another sexual harassment suit. This time it is getting brought against Miguel Vega, and that he just did some very inappropriate things to a woman coworker, and that he threatened to blackmail her, and definitely going, inappropriate behavior. And so now the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing filed a lawsuit against them again.
Yeah, this is definitely a bad one. I mean, this is, they had some sort of existing online relationship before they were both AB employees, and apparently he had some pictures and was
Mm.
extorting her. Like, you know, there's using bad language, and then there's this. So this is like next level. And like I said, this culture of Activision, I think we're just scratching the surface. I think a lot of it was actually at
Yeah.
Blizzard, but nonetheless, the same company. And yeah, more and more women are going to come forward, and I think now is the time. Now is the time to do
Yeah.
it. I mean, I think there's a lot of support for it, and we see it's just this has been going on for years,
Yeah.
and this deal is not going to go through with Microsoft.
I don't think so. Unless like just they just gut AB and maybe buy it and say like we'll salvage it. But I don't see like that being like worth the price at this point.
No one likes to be investigated. No one wants to be investigated for this. This is, and especially repeated, and they don't know. They don't know how many more women could come forward. They have no idea,
Right?
right? And it's not just
Yeah.
current. It could be past that. Like, I don't know. It's toxic, and I just think it's an explosive acquisition.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And then kind of our last story is Commonwealth Games makes mystery esports U-turn. Competitive gaming will not be a medal event in the 2026 Commonwealth Games after a surprise U-turn. Esports was a pilot event at the 2022 Birmingham Games, co-founded by Commonwealth Games Federation or CGF and the Global Esports Federation GEF. And the CGF called this a success, with its president saying she expected it to be included going forward. But the organizers of the 2026 Games in Victoria, Australia say esports will not feature. Despite numerous requests from BBC News, the CGF, and the GEF, the 2026 Commonwealth Games, lots of words here, organizing committee refused to give any specific reasons. Although
I'll give you some. I'll give you a lot of them. But yeah, go on.
one person close to the discussion said doping in esports may have been a factor, with the concerns that arranging year-round drug testing across various game titles could prove problematic. That was not a turn I was expecting reading this, that it was
Me
to
neither.
doping.
Yeah.
The eye roll, like, oh.
PEDs are definitely performance enhancing drugs, are not really thought of in esports. We do know that
Yeah.
drug use is prevalent, but we're talking, you know, Adderall,
I was like, I
Ritalin,
always heard about Adderall.
etc. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why esports can't be at the Olympics. And as much as I'll always trash the Olympics for being a shit organization that is corrupt, morally corrupt, and
Yeah.
bankrupts many of the cities that host it, that aside, there's a tradition of the Olympics. There is some prestige. And the very simple fact that no one sport in all of sports is owned by anybody. Nobody owns hockey. No one could tell you who and who can't play any single sport in the world. So now all of a sudden you're going to bring in League of Legends, and Riot is going to be the main beneficiary of the
Yeah.
sport. They own the sport. I think that's always going to be a problematic thing, unless there is. We've kind of talked about this a little bit. Will there be some open source or type of no IP games? But
Yeah.
until then, that's one reason I just think never be able to get over. Hoping is a second, and then the third is just I think tarnishes the mission of the Olympic Games. This is
Mhm.
the best athletes in the world competing in sports. And it's not esports. It's not chess. It's not food eating. And while I respect that they've modernized it and added cool sports like skateboarding and
Hmm.
snowboarding, and they haven't stayed with the boring Greek events like decathlon stuff, but
Yeah.
esports doesn't belong there, and I support the decision.
Yeah. It's interesting, kind of going off on a bunny trail a little bit, is that this idea of esports being owned by somebody, it was a huge problem for when we were working in high school esports, because it just became very problematic getting people to answer questions, being able to give like access to things, and it just got really complicated because everything came back to, well, the game is owned by Riot. So even if
Yeah,
you are a school and you're wanting to play, you had to follow Riot's legal rules, and it just gets very complicated very quickly. So I could see that's a very good point of like, we just don't want to mess with these big publishers and their games. Like they can just go do their own. Maybe they create like an X Games, but for esports, and call it
totally, yeah.
Dota. Yeah.
I think the idea of a country specific esports Olympiad is a great idea. Don't want to see who's. I mean, League of Legends to some degree does that the best, right? Because the teams are at least coming from certain
Yeah.
country, coming from their own region, and not a lot of imports. But otherwise, yeah, we all want to know who's the best player in the
Yeah.
world, what country is the best player in Valorant and Counter Strike and all these games, and they should do that.
Hmm.
But these have to be individual Olympics or grouped together just for esports.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes total sense. The reasoning, I still keep reading like the doping, and I'm just like, I feel like that was a little cop out because all athletics have problems. I remember when like all the biking scandal happened with
Yeah,
Armstrong. That
yeah,
one was
Lance
really sad.
Armstrong, sure, and
I'm still sad about that one.
the
So
Russian doping scandals. Yeah,
yeah. So
that is a
that
cop out
being the
answer.
reason, I'm like, everybody does it. You gotta figure it out for everybody. So
Unless they're thinking that the drugs that are performance enhancing for esports athletes, and again, we've talked about this because the show is the greatest show to talk about everything.
yeah.
It's hard to say whether or not. I think it's debatable which drugs are performance enhancing, right? In the sports world, everyone's going to agree that steroids or human growth hormones, like there is a medically agreed upon list of drugs that give you a physical advantage. And that's
Hmm.
science. There's not much dispute there. There's a ton of dispute in the esports world whether or not Adderall or Ritalin
Hmm.
or other drugs or caffeine give you a mental edge. And even so, again, these are legal drugs. So like
Yeah.
how even if you said, okay, we're going to ban Adderall, what about the guy who has a prescription to take Adderall? So it's a good point. There's no way to. That's a tough one to deal with, and maybe
Yeah.
they're just saying we don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. And that makes sense too, because I think there's corruption everywhere. I feel like the negative Nancy over here, but like if I know that Adderall is going to help me perform better, I can get my doctor to prescribe it, whether I actually need it or not, because it's kind of gray on getting medicine like that. So it's that one's hard to manage for sure. We'll just give everybody Adderall. We'll just like pass it out like candy, and then everybody has the same competitive edge.
Yeah. I'm curious in the sports world if some drugs are considered PED in one sport and not in the other.
Oh, I don't know.
Like, I don't know, is something that's banned in basketball allowed in weightlifting? Or I
Maybe.
do know like stuff like cannabis, the leagues, all the leagues have very different policies and positions on. Yeah, so I guess it's true. Cannabis could get you a huge fine in some sports, and
Hmm.
they won't blink an eye in another.
Hmm. Interesting.
Ayahuasca, that's another one. Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers admitted he did ayahuasca over the summer, and technically that didn't violate the NFL's drug policy,
Hmm.
but yet it's like kind of an illegal drug.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yep, don't know. Um, So that's all. Those are all. That's all we got. Those are all the
That's
stories
all
for
we got,
today.
unless you have other news. But we might actually stay within our 15 to 20 minutes this time.
Yeah. No, that's all good. I'm just very happy with the last nation. What's it called?
Scrolled away.
Nation. Last free nation.
Last free nation.
Yeah. Because listen, who's to tell you? I just I hate cancel culture, and so I like that there's a place where you can't get canceled, and that's probably the last free nation. I'm gonna guess by calling it the last free nation, they're not going to cancel anyone. And even
Maybe.
Yeah,
they're not going to cancel anyone within their group.
It's true.
Kind of like those podcasts and things. Like,
yeah, you're right. And they're going to be on a platform, whether it's Spotify or Apple. And you saw even Joe Rogan got close. I would say close to being canceled, but got a stern warning.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Yeah, we're 89 people watching. Wow. Really
Hi everyone.
Hi everyone.
Has anybody got questions?
Hi all computer bots from all over the world for tuning in. Thank you very much, bots. And it's great when your numbers peak without having to say Andrew Tate. It's already up to 125. Yes.
We tried.
We do appreciate it. So thanks everyone for tuning in. See you guys. We're going to be on probably next Thursday. It's the last of the Jewish holidays for this year, for this calendar year. Monday, Tuesday. So got to do that. That's why there's all these decorations. It was also my birthday yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday.
And my house, my background is decorated. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thanks everyone for tuning in. See you guys next week.